Okay, I got the process kind of figured out on welding this metal. I'm using a number 9 torch, so a nice little tiny guy, which is nice because I can almost hold it like a pencil and really get down in there, because I'm welding 18 gauge mild steel to 14 gauge square tube. I'm using a foot pedal and I'm pulsing, so I'm going hot, adding filler, backing off, going hot, adding filler, backing off, and then I have really nice control of my heat that way. So after some fine tuning, this is what I'm able to achieve. I'm gonna grind it all smooth anyway, so it doesn't have to be like perfect, but I'm still really pleased with that, if it would focus. There you go. You get a decent idea of what it's looking like. I'm just doing stitch welds every few inches. Don't look up here, kind of a mess up here, but this is kind of what I'm doing. So I'll do that all the way down and then go back and fill it in, because you know, you gotta get the gap squeezed before you weld. So being able to clamp, kind of leapfrog these clamps as I go down is really nice. I'm gonna do the other side for a little bit because I wanna make sure it's even and balanced. But I think it's gonna look pretty cool. I like the texture. And it's, as always, a good TIG welding practice. So let's do this side now. Hello everyone, welcome back to the awning build. I've got a bunch of TIG welding done, and I mean a lot of TIG welding. This whole thing is welded together. This side I've ground down slightly. This side is still welded. You can see I got in a rhythm. Yeah. It's not the best, but it's welding, you know, 18 gauge to 14 gauge. With a tiny little number 9 torch, foot pedal, and a pulser. If that doesn't make any sense to you, then that's okay. It's just how I TIGged it. I used the pulse setting on my Everlast TIG welder. So on here, you know, if this is the first time you've seen the front of a TIG welder, you're probably super overwhelmed. But, you know, welding amps, I had about 80. And then I turned the pulser on, so this one has a nice TIG pulse, which is basically an automatic on-off pulse you can program. So I had it 40% of the time, pulse time on, and then ran like 15% background amperage and did it at 0.8 hertz or 0.8 times a second. So it was slower than a second. I basically set the pulser to mimic what I was doing with my foot pedal. So I would floor the foot pedal, it would establish the puddle, I'd feed in my filler, and then I'd back off the foot pedal to keep this sheet metal from melting away. And as I realized that I was doing that with fair consistency, I was like, well, I'll just program the pulser to do this so I can just stand on the foot pedal and it'll go bzz, bzz, bzz. It worked. I was able to make this fairly consistent. Sorry if you're lost, back on track. Those are for my welding nerds out there. The only thing that's left is to cut out some house numbers, so they're gonna have their house numbers that live right here. I gotta make a ridge cap out of some of the rest of this metal to cover this part because, you know, that's open. And then, like if that's the front, this would be the back against the house, and I will be cutting some strips that go in here like this with holes or slots in them that will then get screwed to the house. I've already drawn up some mounting strips in Fusion. I forgot to film it because I forgot I was filming this whole project. But let me go show you what I've drawn, and then we'll find some scrap steel to cut them out and see if it works. Walker, this job's not gonna be on YouTube, so what are you doing?
Work in progress. Tay has a client who has a bunch of deceased animals. He wants to give some of his family's favorite pets back to them as plasma cut metal things, I guess.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is just creating contrasted outlines of where, black is going to be where the metal is and white is where the plasma cutter is going to remove the metal. So you're going to end up creating this silhouetted contrast between negative space. And it should be pretty cool. Some of these I'm still having to figure out like places
That's
to...
the best one.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
But I have to figure out places where to connect, because if these are metal, then they have to be held on somewhere by something. So I'm having to brainstorm a little bit about that.
Well, Walker makes it so that Lift Arc can handle projects like this.
Hit us up.
There's no limit to what we can make with our plasma. And in front of that, the media creation. Okay, anyway, back to what I was saying. Walker, you're doing great.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so this is what I've drawn. I took inspiration from the actual piece here. So if we turn this back on, this is the frame I drew in Fusion. And then I used some geometry from that sketch to inspire some of this with slots in it. You can see that. And then brought it into InRoute and cut it in half, toolpathed it, and now I know that this shape fits inside of a 5x46 rectangle. So I gotta find some scrap metal that's that dimension. Of course, the issue with this is that I have taken inspiration from a drawing I did in Fusion, a model I made in Fusion. Now, I then took those measurements and made it in real life using a roll bender and 1-inch square tubing and got as close as I could get. So cutting out a strip based on a model that's supposed to be welded to something that I built by hand, it may not work very well. I'm trying to save myself time, but in turn I might be costing me more time. But hey, you live and you learn. We're back here at the Shop Saver. This guy just zeroed the machine. Now I'm gonna move it around, get a piece of plate on here, zero that, and cut our first piece out, see how it goes. And this, my friends, is why I love having a CNC plasma cutter. All right, moment of truth. I'm trying this live with you. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's gonna work. Look how good that is. Oh, that is not staged, folks. I'm genuinely surprised that I got that right. That is awesome. I'm gonna have to trim some off the tips, but look at that. There's a little gap, but my gosh, that is a lot closer than I thought it would get. Obviously, I'll do a second one for that side, but look at that. We got all of our welds ground nice and smooth while leaving enough material there to make sure this isn't going anywhere. And I'm now test fitting and nipping the corners off of these guys, laying them in here. There's a little bit of overlap up there, so I have to trim one or both of them back a little bit. But this is great. I'll be able to just use the MIG welder now, weld in here, weld a little bit here, or not. I might not weld that at all. And then weld this shut and grind that back. Very, very close. 2022. We're back at it. We're back at it.
Back at it.
Wyatt had a baby.
I had a kid. I had a little bitty, it's like a version of me with no beard and like that big.
For now.
For now. She'll grow. One thing we noticed is that we're putting the onesies on her and everything, and her arms are totally normal, and the rest of it is really big, and her legs, the little socks on the bottom of the onesies are coming off. So the poor girl's got really long arms and short legs, just like her dad.
That's how you know she's related. What was that, positive ape index?
Positive ape index.
Yeah.
I have a positive ape index of like, I think it's like 4 inches.
You're not dragging your knuckles yet.
No, not quite. I got a few little more years of slumping to go.
Back on the awning real quick because I'm enjoying my progress without talking. Gotta find a way now to cap this top. Welcome back to Lift Arc Studios. Let's do it. Here's the shape we made on the brake. I'm gonna try to fit this over the top and figure out what to do next. That's gonna work out great. Look at that. Nice and close. We'll just tack that together like you would do body work. Just one tack after the other, grind it all smooth, put some dents in this part to match that, and Bob's your uncle.
Uncle Bob?
It's funny, I have an Uncle Bob. Because Bob's your uncle means like, and there you go.
Yeah.
Job done. And that's it.
Yeah. Hey Google, where does the phrase Bob's your uncle come from?
According to EC English, in 1887, British Prime Minister Robert Gascoigne Cecil appointed his nephew Arthur James Balfour as Minister for Ireland. The phrase Bob's your uncle was coined when Arthur referred to the Prime Minister as Uncle Bob.
Oh, apparently it's very simple to become a minister when Bob's your uncle.
Oh.
So he's like, well, I want to do this. Well, Bob's your uncle, so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
He's,
because you're privileged.
yeah. All right, home stretch as far as this awning is concerned. Let's get it done, let's get it painted, let's get it installed. So last night I finished up welding these edges. We got the top smoothed out as much as it needs to be. And everything is done. We got the letters cut. I'm gonna mount these. Drew these up, the customer picked the font, so I really like the font. Made the letters to where they're all connected to this base bar, which now that base bar can just be screwed into the back of this 1-inch member here. The reason it's not just welded solid is because these are gonna get painted a different color than this. This is gonna get painted a dark, I think a dark brown, almost black, and then these will be like a light green, so it'll look nice together. So, plan for today is, well, paint eventually, but it's about 10, almost 11 o'clock now, so for the next hour before lunch, I'm gonna go over the whole thing with a Scotch-Brite pad, maybe a little bit more flap wheel action just to smooth everything out, and then wipe the whole thing down with acetone a bunch here so I don't have to do that at the paint booth. I'll do it one more time at the paint booth, but yeah, a light at the end of the tunnel. Let's do some sanding, some cleaning, and some wiping. All right, here we are at a friend of mine's shop. He has a full paint booth in here with filters and positive ventilation and dry air and the whole nine. There's a leak in the middle, but that's okay. I'll put it over here. Yeah, I'll have a booth in my shop eventually, but it's nice to have a place to paint things before that's a reality. That's not far away. Okay, so there we go. It's all hung upside down. So when I paint things, I like to do the last thing I paint is with the object in its upright position. So in this case, my first coat will be while it's upside down, so I can get to all the spots that I wouldn't normally be able to get to in its vertical position. And then that way, if there's any runs or imperfections, I can fix them before I do the final few coats in its upright position. So paint I'm using, for what it does, it's quite cheap. It's called ALK 200, and it's a direct to metal enamel. I will be using a hardener, which helps with weather and UV resistance, being that this is going to be an outside awning. So now I'm just going to read up on the application. You know, I want to give it a little bit of time. I might turn some heaters on, but I want to give this a little bit of time to warm up, come to room temperature, which it's obviously already doing. But yeah, I'm gonna clean it up some. Enough talking, let's do some cleaning. Cool, so that's what we're doing. It's like a gray, mostly sort of charcoal. I think there's a little brown in there. But that combined with this sort of lighter green, I think is gonna look really cool. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer. Please don't fall over. Okay, now we're ready to rock. So I'll set you guys up in the booth and cue the montage. Back here at the shop, and I'm going to sand and paint this little guy because it's much smaller than the other piece, so I can stand to do that here. I don't need a whole paint booth or prep area because it's literally psh, 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 done. But I'm going to start by sanding it and then cleaning it and then spraying it. Looks good. Like that color a lot. Love it. This paint goes on really nice, I gotta say. Okay, anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. I just painted it and I forgot to hit record. Sorry. All right, back at the paint booth for the final coat. Let's see what she looks like. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. A little bit of orange peeling texture, but that's okay. The whole thing's textured. Realistically, it could probably be done now. But I got the paint, I got the time, I got the booth. I want to make a good impression and I want this thing to last in the elements. So one more good coat on the outside and we'll call it. The inside's done, obviously, because once I flip it, it's gonna be real hard to get up under there. So yeah, let's get to flipping and then get to painting. Might as well show you guys the finished product while it's wet. It's always nice and shiny when it's wet. There you go. All shot. Finally coated. No drips. Good time. See you next week for the install. Okay. We're gonna have to wear a belt today.
You know, somebody was previously calling you out for your pants having holes. Apparently in one of our videos, your butt crack is out.
Yeah, you get holes in your pants when you set yourself on fire for a living. Okay. Well, here you go. I don't think you've yet seen the final paint. So the green turned out really nice, I think. And here's the grayish brown that I'm a big fan of. Like this. We now might be a good time to promo that we've got a really exciting plasma cutter video coming up. Mm-hmm. The 1 year later revisit. But anyway, look at that. Screws on. I'm excited. So, there you go. Hope you learned a little bit about painting, and I'll see you tomorrow. Because you'll probably see it tomorrow, this is going to the same guy. Ooh. So this is a stainless sign that Joe sent me a picture of. So he sent me literally a JPEG that he found on Google and said, hey, can you turn this into a metal sign? And I said, you bet. So I did. And here it is. It's 12 by 36. So he sent me that. And then I put it on metal. When it comes to small things, I really don't mind doing painting. I wouldn't want to paint cars in here. I don't like painting anything in here, but small stuff like is fine. So part of what I offer is custom colors. Got a nice local paint supplier that I enjoy working with. Yeah, that found this cool direct to metal paint that's just one and done, and it's still wet right now. That's why it's so shiny, but this stuff lays on great, and you'll see me give this to him tomorrow. Tomorrow's gonna be a good day.
What does it mean? Mountains, sea, and air?
It means to reach great summits, you must endure heavy seas and frigid blizzards to land amongst the stars.
Oh, wow. I should get that tattooed on me. Wait, say that again?
The point is, if you want it, we can build it. Unless it's a cake, in which case, no thank you.
We'll take one.
Big reveal. Might as well see it.
Yeah. That is awesome.
We'll undo it, but really stoked with how the finish came out. What do you think?
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, that's perfect.
And hammered.
Yeah, just enough texture to give it like a little something.
Yeah.
Flat,
smooth. Your house isn't a flat and smooth kind of house.
No.
You know? The tip and all that, and then I'll show you. This is why. So these two strips with the slots are how I will fasten it into your house.
Sure.
So, but because we added, I chiseled for that first.
Yeah, you gotta.
So now I
Makes
just
sense.
gotta make that fit. But it shouldn't take much longer.
Okay.
And then we'll anchor it, and then we'll high five about it.
Nice. You know what that means?
I'm wearing a shirt today that doesn't fit properly, so you're gonna see more of this. Which, as Walker told me in the comments, was
We're done.
not appreciated. To which I will say, it's hard to find clothes that fit me. Yeah, I was about to say, I brought a broom for this, so there's no need for that. But yeah, we can
Well, just a soft spot for.
place to set it. Gosh, you're smart. This guy, he's a thinker.
That doesn't mean that the thoughts going through my head are necessarily smart. They're just always there.
He just has a lot of them.
If you have enough of them, You're bound to get right on some of them.
Yeah, it's a numbers game, really.
I mean, it's like if you read a lot, but then you just read Playboy. It doesn't really do much.
Hey, they got some good editorials in there.
Of course, below that big bulge out on the right.
Yeah.
I gotta cut some of that off. But everything else looks all right. Even if this isn't the final fit up, you get to see what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I was like, no, change it. Don't like it. What's your refund policy?
Non-existent. Better. Some up there to the left. All right, let's see where it is. Joe?
Yo.
One more time. This one's for the money. I blame it on the drill. Thanks.
Yeah, all right.
Good. Joe, up the hair on here. You guys should be good.
Just wait for the whole house to crumble.
There it is. That's the bite I wanted. We got completion all over this house.
That sounds dirty.
Yeah. So are our hands. Oh, sorry. I just fucked up your thumb. Open.
Yay!
That looked painful.
It was.
Turn to the last. Now, a piece de resistance.
That's perfect.
Yeah?
Yeah, besides the fact that it's not the address.
It sure isn't, is it? 1923.
It's close.
You sure you don't live at 6018?
Well, you've got one of the numbers and then the 9's upside down. And yeah, you're,
Oh, you know what this is? This is the paint code. I guarantee you, because that's what I wrote down. Oh, that's pretty
right.
That's pretty funny.
I'm just really glad that wasn't me that did that.
But I'm going to put one screw in it just so you can get a sense of what it's going to look like. Awesome. And then I'll go back and cut out the proper numbers for you. Doy.
Oh, look at the shadow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Whoa, cool.
I didn't even realize it.